The chamber was silent. Hundreds of alien nobles sat in tall seats made of crystal and stone. Strange lights glowed across the hall, making the air heavy with tension. At the center, a single human man stood nervously. His name was Daniel. He was simple compared to those around him, just a human traveler who had once befriended a great alien warrior. Now he was here because that friend had died. The voice of the elder echoed through the chamber. By the law of the stars, the will of General Corrin shall be honored. All his wealth, all his lands, and all his bonds will be passed to Daniel, the human. The hall shook with gasps. Angry whispers spread like fire. A human? One alien lord growled. This must be a mistake, another hissed. He cannot take Corrin's fortune. Daniel's heart raced. He could hardly breathe. He remembered his friend Corrin clearly, a tall alien with silver skin and deep golden eyes. They had fought side by side once, surviving battles that no one else thought they could win. Corrin had always laughed in danger, had always protected Daniel when death was near. But Daniel had never imagined this. He had never imagined that Corrin's death would change his life forever. The elder raised his hand. The hall went quiet again. This is the command of General Corrin. His decision is final. By our law, Daniel is the heir. Daniel felt his knees weaken. He did not want wealth, power, or titles. He only wanted his friend back. But destiny had given him something else. Something dangerous. As he stepped forward, alien guards bowed slightly, though their faces showed anger. A chest of glowing stones was opened before him. They were not just jewels. They were energy crystals, worth enough to buy starships and even planets. The whispers grew louder. He will be killed within a week. Someone will take it from him. No human can protect such wealth. Daniel felt every eye on him. He could almost feel the knives hidden behind smiles. He clenched his fists, trying not to show fear. Then the elder spoke again. And by the bond of law, the two wives of General Corrin shall remain under the protection of his heir. The chamber froze. From behind the elder, two women stepped forward. They were tall, graceful, and alien, but their beauty was unlike anything Daniel had ever seen. One had long silver hair that shimmered like moonlight. Her violet eyes studied Daniel carefully as if weighing his soul. The other had deep green hair flowing down her shoulders, her golden eyes filled with quiet strength. They stood on either side of Daniel, and the crowd erupted again. This is madness. Alien wives bound to a human? Impossible. They will not accept him. Daniel felt his face burn with shock. He had expected wealth. He had expected danger. But this was beyond anything he could imagine. The first wife spoke softly, her voice calm but sharp. I am Lyra. General Corrin was my husband. Now by law I am bound to you. The second lowered her head slightly. And I am Ceres, his will is law. We stand with you. Daniel's mouth went dry. He could barely speak. I never asked for this. Lyra's eyes narrowed. Nor did we. But the law does not ask. It commands. The elder slammed his staff on the ground. It is done. The inheritance has been given. The wives have spoken. Let no one challenge the will of Corrin. But everyone knew this was not the end. It was only the beginning. Daniel left the hall with the two alien women walking silently beside him. Guards followed, but he could feel their anger pressing against his back. He could already hear plots forming in the whispers of the nobles. As they entered a large transport ship waiting outside, Daniel finally spoke. Why did he do this? Why me? Ceres turned her golden eyes to him. Because you were his brother in battle. He trusted you more than his own blood, Lyra added coldly. And because he knew this would cause war, he left you not only wealth but enemies. If you cannot survive, everything will be taken. Daniel sat in silence. His hands trembled. He had inherited riches beyond imagination, and two wives bound to him by alien law. But he had also inherited danger greater than any battlefield. Above them, the alien sky glowed with distant stars. Somewhere among those stars his enemies were already waiting, and Daniel knew. His life would never be simple again. The transport ship hummed as it left the glowing city behind. Daniel sat quietly, his hands gripping the metal armrest. Across from him, the two alien women sat in silence. Their eyes did not wander. They did not smile. They only studied him as if he were a puzzle they had been forced to solve. Daniel's thoughts spun like a storm. He had inherited a fortune he never wanted, and now 2 wives he could not understand. His heart still carried grief for Karan, the friend who had trusted him with all this. But the weight of responsibility was too heavy. He felt like a man walking into a trap with no way out. Finally, one of the women spoke. Her voice was clear and sharp like a blade. "You are weaker than him." Daniel looked up, startled. The woman with silver hair and violet eyes leaned closer. She was breathtaking, but her gaze was cold. Korin was a warrior, a leader. His name made enemies tremble. "But you—" She paused, her eyes narrowing. "You are soft. Your enemies will see this. They will come for you." Daniel swallowed. "I never asked for this. I never wanted—" She cut him off. "That does not matter. Want or not, the law binds us. My name is Lyra. I will not hide behind you. If you fall, I will protect myself. Remember this," the other woman finally spoke. Her golden eyes held a strange warmth, though her words were firm. "I am Ceres. Korin told me something before he left for his last battle. He said, if I die, follow Daniel. Trust him, even when the galaxy does not. That is why I stand with you, even if the others will not." Daniel's chest tightened. His friend had trusted him even in death. Why? What secret had Karan seen in him that he could not see in himself? The ship touched down at a vast estate that stretched across alien hills. Towers of black stone rose high, glowing with strange symbols. Guards stood at every gate, their faces unreadable. As Daniel stepped out with Lyra and Ceres, whispers followed. "Those wives will not obey him. He will not last a month. He will be dead before the next moon." The estate was beautiful, filled with gardens of glowing plants and waterfalls that shimmered in the dark. But Daniel felt no peace. Every shadow seemed to hide an enemy. Every glance carried judgment. That night, a feast was prepared in the great hall. Alien nobles gathered, pretending to honor him. But Daniel could sense their hunger. They did not see him as an heir. They saw him as prey. Lyra sat beside him, her posture straight, her face like stone. Ceres sat on his other side, her eyes moving carefully across the room, watching everyone. The hall was loud with laughter and false compliments, but Daniel's mind was sharp. He knew he was being tested. A noble raised his glass. To the human heir. May he enjoy what is not his. The crowd laughed cruelly. Daniel clenched his jaw, but before he could speak, Lyra rose to her feet. Her violet eyes blazed. "Korin's will is law," she said coldly. "Insult his heir, and you insult him. Do you dare dishonor the name of the greatest warrior our world has ever seen?" The hall went quiet. No one spoke. No one moved. The noble who had mocked Daniel lowered his head quickly, shame burning on his face. Daniel stared at Lyra in surprise. She had defended him. When she sat down, she leaned closer, her voice low so only he could hear. "Do not mistake this for loyalty to you. I defend Korin's honor, but for now, his honor and your survival are the same." Later that night, Daniel walked alone through the estate's halls, his mind heavy. He stopped near a balcony, looking out at the alien stars. That was when Ceres approached. "You are afraid," she said softly. Daniel sighed. "Yes, and I don't know how long I can survive here." Ceres placed a hand on his arm. "You survived battles with Korin. You endured where others died. He trusted you with his wives and his wealth because he saw something in you, a strength that is not in the sword but in the heart." Daniel turned to her, meeting her golden eyes. There was no coldness there, only a quiet faith. "Do you really believe that?" he asked. She nodded. "I would not still be here if I didn't." For the first time since this began, Daniel felt a flicker of hope. But it was small, fragile, like a single flame in the dark. He knew the galaxy would not accept him so easily. Somewhere enemies were waiting. Somewhere someone was already planning his fall. And as Lyra watched him from the shadows of the balcony, her eyes unreadable, Daniel realized something else. His greatest challenge might not come from his enemies. It might come from the 2 women standing at his side. The days after the inheritance were quiet on the surface, but Daniel could feel the storm building. Every step he took in the alien estate was watched. Servants whispered when they thought he was not listening. Guards saluted him, but their eyes showed no respect. Nobles visited, offering false smiles and poisoned words. Daniel quickly understood one truth. Wealth and wives were not gifts, they were chains. They tied him to a game of power he did not know how to play. Lyra, with her silver hair, carried herself like a queen. She spoke little to him, but when she did, her words were sharp. She trained in the courtyard every morning with a blade that shimmered with alien energy. Watching her fight was like watching lightning take form. Many guards gathered just to see her skill, and Daniel could tell. They respected her, not him. Saris, on the other hand, stayed close to Daniel. She walked with him through the gardens, explained the history of the estate, and quietly warned him about the politics of alien society. Her calm voice soothed him, but he also wondered, was her kindness real or just another part of Karan's plan? One evening, as the twin moons rose over the hills, a secret meeting took place in the city below. Rival nobles gathered in a dark chamber. The human cannot keep what is not his. He insults us by breathing the air of kings. His death must look like an accident. Then we will divide the wealth among ourselves. A cloaked figure stepped forward, his voice a low hiss. I have already placed my agents inside his estate. Soon the human will not see another sunrise. Back at the estate, Daniel tried to rest, but his sleep was broken by shadows. He woke in the middle of the night to find Saris standing near the window, her golden eyes glowing faintly in the starlight. You should not sleep so deeply, she whispered. Daniel sat up, alarmed. Why, what's wrong? Before she could answer, a sound cut through the silence, the faint scrape of metal against stone. Daniel's heart jumped. He grabbed the blade Karan had once gifted him, though his hands shook. Lyra burst into the room, her blade already glowing with energy. Assassins, she said coldly. The windows shattered. Dark figures leapt inside, their movements fast, their eyes burning with hatred. Daniel swung clumsily, barely deflecting a strike. Lyra moved like fire, cutting down two attackers in a blur. Saris shielded Daniel, pulling him out of reach just as a blade slashed the air where his head had been. The fight was chaos. Daniel had faced battles before with Karan, but this was different. He was not a soldier here, he was prey. His enemies did not fear him. They wanted him gone. One assassin lunged at him, but Saris stepped forward, her hands glowing with strange energy. A shockwave burst from her palms, throwing the attacker against the wall. Daniel stared in disbelief. He had not known she could fight like that. Lyra cut down the last assassin, her blade dripping with alien light. She turned to Daniel, her face pale with fury. This is only the beginning. They will come again. And next time, they will not send amateurs. Daniel breathed heavily, his hands trembling. They want me dead because I'm human, because I don't belong here. Lyra's voice was like ice. You are correct. You do not belong. But you are here, and if you die, so do we. That is why I fight beside you. Saris placed a hand on Daniel's shoulder, her voice soft but steady. Do not let fear control you. Karan believed in you for a reason. You must become more than what you are now, or you will not survive. The next morning, the nobles returned to the estate, pretending nothing had happened. But Daniel could see the truth in their eyes, they knew. Some even smiled, as if pleased that the first attempt had failed. Daniel sat in the great hall, his jaw tight. For the first time, he realized that he could not remain silent, could not remain weak. If he did, he would die, and everything Karan had left him would vanish. He stood, raising his voice so all could hear. I know many of you think I am unworthy. I know you believe I will die. But understand this, I'm not leaving. I did not ask for this inheritance, but I will protect it. And I will honor Karan's name even if it costs me my life. The hall went quiet. Some laughed softly. Others looked thoughtful. And a few, very few, showed something like respect. Lyra watched him carefully, her violet eyes unreadable. Saris gave the smallest smile as if to say, this is the man Karan saw. But Daniel knew the truth. Speaking words was easy. Surviving the battles to come, that would be the real test. And as the day ended, rumors spread across the galaxy. A human had inherited wealth, wives, and power. He had survived his first attack. Now the question was no longer if he would die, but how long he could hold the storm at bay. The estate was restless after the attack. Guards doubled their patrols. Walls shimmered with protective energy, and whispers filled every corridor. Yet Daniel felt no safety. He knew one thing clearly now. Whoever wanted him dead would not stop. But something else burned inside him. A question. Why had Karan chosen him? Why give a human such wealth, such power, and two alien wives bound by law? It made no sense unless there was more to this inheritance than anyone realized. Late one night, Daniel walked through the silent halls, guided only by torchlight and memory. He remembered something Karan once told him during a quiet evening after battle. If I fall, Find the place where the stars burn under the earth. There you will find what others cannot see." Those words returned to him now. Daniel searched the lower levels of the estate until he came to a sealed chamber. Strange alien markings glowed faintly on the door. Lyra stood behind him, her arms crossed. "That door has been locked for years. Not even the council knows what is inside." Daniel placed his hand on the markings. To his surprise, they glowed brighter, responding to his human touch. The door slowly opened, releasing a low hum that shook the air. Inside was not just a room, it was a vault. The walls were lined with alien devices, glowing crystals and weapons unlike anything Daniel had ever seen. In the center stood a pedestal, holding a small cube of shifting light. The moment Daniel approached, the cube rose into the air, spinning slowly. Saris gasped. That is forbidden technology. Only Corin knew of this. The cube pulsed, projecting images into the air. Maps of star systems, designs of weapons, records of hidden wars fought in secret. And then Daniel saw something else. Figure himself, his breath caught. The cube showed Corin standing beside him. Corin's voice, recorded long ago, echoed through the chamber. "If you are seeing this, my friend, then I am gone. And you, Daniel, are my heir. The galaxy will not understand why I chose you. They will call you unworthy. They will try to kill you. But remember, you carry what no alien can. The human heart. That is why I trust you with this gift." The cube's light shifted, revealing a weapon unlike any other. A long staff of black metal humming with energy. Corin's voice continued. "This is the Star Piercer. It can cut through shields, pierce armor, and awaken what sleeps in the dark. Use it only when you must. In your hands, it will change the galaxy." Daniel reached out, his fingers trembling. The staff pulsed as he touched it, glowing brighter, as if it had been waiting only for him. The weight felt natural in his hands, powerful, alive. Lyra's eyes widened. "That weapon chooses its master. No alien could wield it without burning, but you. You carry it easily," Saris whispered, awe in her voice. "Corin truly believed in you. He left you more than wealth. He left you the key to survival." But Daniel's thoughts were heavy. He had seen weapons before. He had fought battles before. This was different. This was not just a blade, it was a promise and a curse. If he used it, everyone in the galaxy would know. Every rival, every enemy, every hunter would come for him. As they left the vault, Lyra walked beside him, her voice colder than the night. "Now I understand. He gave you everything because you are dangerous, Daniel. Not to us, not yet. But to them, to all who think humans are weak. That staff will make you a target." Daniel tightened his grip on the weapon, then let them come. The next day, word spread. Somehow the nobles had learned that Daniel had unlocked Corin's hidden vault. Rumors filled the city. The human wields the Star Piercer. He has Corin's secret technology. If he masters it, he will rule us all. In the great hall, nobles confronted him, their voices sharp with fear and anger. "Return what you have taken. The Star Piercer does not belong to you. A human cannot control it." Daniel rose slowly, the weapon in his hands glowing with a faint hum. The chamber grew silent as he raised it high. The air shimmered with energy and the nobles stepped back in shock. "I did not ask for this," Daniel said firmly, his voice carrying through the hall. "But I will not give it up. Corin trusted me and I will not betray his trust. If any of you wish to take it from me, then try." No one moved. No one dared. Lyra stood tall at his side, her violet eyes blazing. Saris placed a steady hand on his shoulder, her golden eyes filled with quiet strength. For the first time, Daniel was not just an heir. He was something more, and far away across the stars, hidden enemies stirred. The human had revealed the secret gift, and the galaxy would never be the same again. Night fell heavy over the alien estate. The walls shimmered with protective energy, but Daniel felt no comfort. Since he had revealed the Star Piercer, every look in the great hall had changed. Before they mocked him, now they feared him. And fear was always more dangerous than laughter. Lyra trained outside in the moonlight, her blade cutting through the air like lightning. She moved with flawless control, each strike echoing with fury. Saris, on the other hand, walked the halls quietly, speaking with servants, calming whispers of rebellion. Both women stood beside Daniel, yet in different ways. Lyra was his shield of steel, Saris his shield of trust. But Daniel knew shields would not be enough. Somewhere in the dark, betrayal was already moving. In the city below, rival nobles gathered in a secret chamber. Torches burned low as voices hissed in anger. The human dares to carry the star piercer. He has no right. If he rises, we will fall. He must die before the galaxy begins to follow him. A tall figure cloaked in red stepped forward. His voice was calm but deadly. Then we shall strike not at his strength, but at his heart. Let him bleed from within. Let him fall by the hands closest to him. The betrayal began slowly. Food tasted strange. Servants avoided Daniel's eyes. Messages arrived late or not at all. Allies promised support, then vanished without reason. Each day felt heavier, as though the estate itself had turned against him. One evening, during a council meeting, Daniel noticed a guard shifting nervously. Sweat dripped down his face, though the room was cool. Lyra's eyes narrowed. In one swift motion, she hurled her blade across the chamber. It struck the guard's hand just as he pulled a hidden blaster. Gasps filled the hall. The guard screamed, dropping the weapon. Another noble shouted, "This is madness! Even your own guards turn against you." Lyra pulled her blade free, her voice cold. That was no guard. That was a traitor bought with coin. Daniel's jaw tightened. He looked across the council table and saw nothing but hungry eyes. Allies. No, they were all waiting for him to fall. That night, Daniel spoke with Saris in the quiet garden. The glow of alien flowers lit her golden eyes. "They are closing in," he said, his voice low. "Even my guards cannot be trusted. Who can I depend on?" Saris touched his arm gently. "You can depend on us. Corin chose us to walk this path with you, and I believe he was right. But you must be ready for betrayal, not just from the outside, but from within." Daniel frowned. "What do you mean?" Before Saris could answer, Lyra stepped from the shadows, her expression unreadable. "She means what I have known all along. Trust no one, Daniel. Not even us." The words cut deep. Daniel stared at her. "You would betray me?" Lyra's violet eyes burned. "If you prove weak, yes. Because weakness kills. And I refuse to die chained to a man who cannot stand." Silence hung heavy between them. Saris turned away, ashamed. Daniel clenched his fists. "Then watch closely, Lyra. Because I will stand." The attack came sooner than expected. At midnight, shadows slipped through the estate. Assassins cloaked in dark armor moved with silent precision. They killed guards swiftly, leaving only silence behind. Their target was not Daniel's chambers, it was the wives. Daniel woke to the sound of clashing steel. He grabbed the star piercer and rushed into the hall. Lyra was already there, fighting 3 assassins at once, her blade flashing with furious speed. Saris shielded 2 frightened servants, her energy pulses blasting attackers back. "Daniel!" Lyra shouted. "They want us, not you." Daniel charged, the star piercer glowing like a burning star. His strike cut through an assassin's shield like paper. The weapon howled with power as if alive. Fear spread through the attackers. They had not expected resistance, but more came. From the windows, from the roof, from the shadows. The estate became a battlefield. Daniel fought with desperation, the star piercer guiding his hands. Lyra moved beside him, fierce as a storm. Saris unleashed her hidden strength, her golden eyes blazing with light. By dawn, the estate was littered with broken armor and blood. The assassins were gone, but so were many guards. As the sun rose, Daniel stood in the courtyard, the star piercer humming in his grip. His body ached, his heart burned, but he still stood. Lyra approached, her face stern but her eyes softer than before. "You fought well. Not like a soldier, not like Corin, but like yourself. Perhaps there is more in you than I thought." Saris stepped forward, placing her hand on his shoulder. "This was only the first storm. Greater storms will come, but now they will fear you. You are no longer prey. You are the man who survived betrayal in the shadows." Daniel looked at the rising sun, its light washing over the estate. He knew the battle was far from over. Enemies would return. Allies would vanish. Betrayal would come again. But something had changed. He was no longer just a human carrying another man's legacy. He was Daniel, heir of Coran, wielder of the star piercer. And for the first time, he felt the galaxy itself watching him. Not with laughter, not with scorn, but with fear. The estate was still scarred from the night of blood. Burned walls, shattered windows, and the smell of steel lingered in the air. Servants moved quietly, repairing what they could while guards doubled their watch. But beneath the silence, the truth was clear. Daniel had survived. Whispers spread beyond the estate, flowing into the city and across the galaxy. The human lived. He fought with the wives of Corin at his side. He carried the star-piercer without fear. The nobles had sent blades in the dark, and still he stood when dawn came. For the first time, his enemies no longer laughed. They watched. They measured. Some even began to hesitate. Daniel knew survival was not enough. If he remained alone, more assassins would come, and eventually they would succeed. He needed something greater than fear. He needed loyalty. So for the first time, Daniel called the Council of Nobles not as a guest, not as an outsider, but as their equal. The council chamber filled with alien lords and ladies, their eyes sharp with suspicion. Some came out of curiosity, some out of anger, and a few out of caution. Lyra stood tall at his right side, her hand resting on her blade. Sarah stood at his left, calm but watchful, her golden eyes studying every movement. When Daniel entered, the chamber buzzed with whispers. That is the human. He should be dead. Perhaps he is not as weak as we thought. Daniel walked to the center and placed the star-piercer upright, its tip striking the floor with a sharp crack. The weapon pulsed with light, silencing the room. I know what you think of me, Daniel began, his voice firm. You see me as an outsider, a thief of fortune, a mistake in your proud galaxy, and maybe you are right. I am not like you. I do not have your blood, your traditions, or your power, but I have something else. He looked around the chamber, meeting their eyes one by one. I survived when you thought I would fall. I fought with my own hands, not hiding behind titles or laws. I stand here because I will not bow to fear, and I will not run. The room was silent. Nobles shifted uncomfortably, their arrogance shaken. Daniel raised the star-piercer. This weapon was not meant for me. Yet it chose me. Corin believed in me, and whether you like it or not, I am his heir. I do not ask you for loyalty. I ask you for choice. Stand with me or stand against me. But if you stand against me, know this. The weapon flared with light, glowing brighter than the torches. I will not fall. Whispers spread quickly after that day. Some nobles scoffed, saying he was still only a man playing at war. But others began to see opportunity. A few even sent quiet messages offering cautious alliances. Daniel met with them in secret halls and hidden gardens. He spoke not like a king, but like a soldier. He listened. He promised not riches, but fairness. And slowly he began to weave a net of fragile loyalty around him. Lyra noticed it first. Watching from the shadows, she murmured to herself, He is not Corin, but perhaps he could be something greater. Saris noticed it too. She smiled softly when she saw the way Daniel treated the servants, thanking them with words no noble had ever spoken. You win hearts not by force but by kindness. That is what they do not understand. But Daniel also understood something darker. Fear had its place. When he carried the star-piercer into meetings, nobles fell silent. When he spoke of betrayal, eyes lowered. Respect could be earned, but fear kept blades from the dark. He would need both. One night, as Daniel walked the estate walls, Lyra joined him. The moons painted her silver hair in light. You are changing, she said quietly. Daniel looked out at the horizon. I have no choice. She studied him for a long moment. When I first saw you, I thought you would die within days. You were soft, weak, but now... She paused, her voice softer than he had ever heard. Now you remind me of him. Of Corin, yet you are different. Less of a warlord, more of a leader. Daniel turned to her, surprised. Is that respect I hear? Lyra smirked faintly. Do not grow arrogant. Respect is not loyalty. You must still earn that. Before Daniel could reply, Saris appeared, her golden eyes glowing faintly in the moonlight. He already has, she said gently. At least with me. For a moment, the three of them stood together on the walls, watching the stars. A strange peace hung between them. But it did not last, because beyond those stars, enemies were gathering. Rivals who saw Daniel not as a leader, but as a threat that must be destroyed. By the time dawn touched the estate, Daniel's path had changed. He was no longer simply a human carrying a friend's legacy. He was a man building his own. The galaxy had tried to break him with fear and betrayal, but now Daniel had something far stronger. He had begun to rise as a leader, and leaders once awakened are far harder to kill. The galaxy was restless. Across star systems, whispers carried Daniel's name. The human heir, the man who wields the star-piercer, the one who survived assassins and betrayal. Some called him a fraud. Some called him a threat, but more and more, some began to call him a leader. The nobles could not ignore him anymore, And so they summoned him to the Grand Conclave, the gathering where laws were shaped, wars declared, and rulers judged. If he survived this day, he would no longer be questioned. If he failed, his body would never leave the chamber. The conclave chamber was vast, built from black stone and glowing crystal. Thousands of alien lords filled the seats that circled the floor. Their robes shimmered like stars, their voices a storm of doubt and fury. At the center stood Daniel. Beside him were Lyra and Ceres, their presence a silent reminder that he carried not only wealth, but the bonds of Charon's bloodline. In his hands, the star-piercer pulsed faintly as if alive. A voice thundered from the high throne. "Daniel of Earth, you are summoned to answer. By what right do you claim inheritance not of your kind?" Murmurs shook the chamber. Some shouted, "He is no heir." Others, "Send him back to the dirt of his world." Daniel stood tall, though his heart pounded like war drums. He raised the star-piercer and struck its base against the floor. The weapon flared with light, silencing the chamber in a wave of energy. "I did not claim this," Daniel said firmly. "It was given to me. By Corin, by law, by his choice, and by my survival." He looked around the circle of alien faces. "I am not blind. I know you see me as weak, as unworthy. You tried to break me with knives in the dark, with betrayal, with fear, but I am still standing." Lyra stepped forward, her violet eyes burning. "You doubt him? Then you doubt Corin himself. He chose this man above his own blood. Do you dare spit on his name?" Ceres's voice followed, softer but steady. "Corin saw what you did not. He saw the strength of a human heart. He trusted Daniel because he knew Daniel would not bend to greed or pride or fear. He knew Daniel would endure." The chamber grew tense. Some nobles lowered their eyes. Others scowled, unwilling to yield. A rival lord rose from his seat, his voice sharp with venom. "He survived because of trickery, because of luck. He is no warrior. He is no leader. He is nothing." The star-piercer blazed in Daniel's hands, its light filling the chamber. He stepped closer to the rival, his voice cutting through the air. "Nothing. I was nothing. A man with no fortune, no title, no bloodline. But I had something none of you could see. I had loyalty to a friend. I had the courage to stand when I was hunted. And I had the will to live when the galaxy wanted me dead. That is not nothing. That is everything." The rival stepped back, fear flickering in his eyes. Daniel turned, raising the weapon high. "I do not ask for your approval. I do not beg for your mercy. I make only one oath. I will honor Corin's name. I will protect what he left me. And I will stand beside any who choose peace instead of war. But if you come for me, if you come for my wives, for my people, for my home, then I swear this." The star-piercer roared, a shockwave blasting through the chamber, shaking the walls. "You will know the strength of a human." Silence followed, a silence so deep it felt endless. Then slowly some nobles rose to their feet. They placed their hands over their hearts, bowing slightly. Not many at first, but more followed. Respect, however reluctant, was spreading. Lyra watched with narrowed eyes, but her voice was softer than ever. "They see you now, not as an outsider, not as a thief, but as something they cannot deny." Ceres's golden eyes shone with quiet pride. "You have done what even Corin could not. You have united fear and respect in the same breath." Daniel stood at the center of the storm, breathing hard. He knew this was not the end. Wars would still come. Rivals would still plot. Betrayal would still crawl in the shadows. But something had changed forever. He was no longer only a man carrying another's legacy. He was Daniel of Earth, heir of Corin, wielder of the star-piercer, and husband to 2 wives who now stood not out of duty, but out of choice. And the galaxy, whether it liked it or not, would have to face him.